I could never let you leave. This means everything to me.
Big mama.
Baby, I'ma fight for it. Baby, I'ma fight for it. Baby, I'ma fight for it. Fight for it.
On September 24th, 2021, a college student named Miya Marcano walked into her Orlando apartment to grab her luggage for a routine weekend trip home. She never walked out. What followed was an 8-day search that gripped an entire community, ending in heartbreak and exposing dangerous failures that could have been prevented. This is a story about trust, shattered by someone with unfettered access to a young woman's home, about warning signs ignored, and about a family's relentless fight to turn their daughter's death into lasting change.
No one knows Tati. That's my whole thing. Not
Tati
even the roommate knows Tati.
Here.
She's an employee, but you keep saying Tati is a friend and that you all hung out together. No one here knows Tati. All her other friends showed up. Her closest friends that live in the complex were all here with us early on. No one knows Tati. Only you. As of right now, you have sent obsessive texts to Miya. We have all seen the text.
Before we begin, if cases like this matter to you, if you believe these stories need to be told so others might be protected, please take a moment to subscribe. 19 years old and full of ambition, Miya Marcano had built a life in Florida that she loved. Born in Pembroke Park to parents Marlon and Emma, she grew up alongside her younger brother, Marlon Jr., whom she affectionately called Munchie. Though her parents had separated when she was young, the family remained closely knit. Miya even developed a warm relationship with her stepmother, Giselle. Those who knew her described someone magnetic, ambitious, adventurous, fiercely loyal, and deeply protective of her little brother. She carried an energy that drew people in naturally. When the time came to plan her future beyond high school, leaving Florida was never an option. She initially set her sights on the University of Central Florida before eventually enrolling at Valencia College to pursue an associate degree in the arts. Her dreams pulled her in multiple directions, perhaps sports medicine, maybe physiotherapy, but the creative world called to her just as strongly. Fashion and design captivated her imagination, and she was a familiar face at local carnival celebrations. For someone like Miya, the Sunshine State offered endless opportunities for festivals, fairs, and the vibrant social life she thrived in. During her time at Valencia, Miya lived at the Arden Villas Apartment complex near the University of Central Florida campus. The sprawling development housed primarily students, and she'd managed to secure a job right there at the complex, helping to lease apartments. It was the perfect arrangement: no commute, flexible hours that worked around her class schedule, and steady income. She stayed in touch with her family constantly, never letting more than a few days pass without flying home to Pembroke Park, just an hour away by plane. But beneath the surface of this seemingly safe student community, something deeply troubling was brewing. Beginning sometime in the summer of 2021, Miya found herself the target of unwanted attention from a maintenance worker at the complex. His name was Armando Caballero, a 27-year-old man who'd been hired just months earlier in June. What started as persistent attempts to talk to her gradually escalated into behavior that made her genuinely uncomfortable. He asked her out repeatedly. She declined every time, trying to remain polite but firm. Then the gestures became more concerning. At one point, Caballero sent Miya $700 through a cash transfer app, with a note saying it was simply for being pretty. She immediately sent the money back. Unsure how else to handle the situation, she confided in her roommate about his behavior. Other residents would later come forward to say they'd witnessed his fixation on the teenager as well. He seemed to constantly find reasons to be near her, to talk to her, to insert himself into her day. Miya did what many young women do in these situations. She tried to ignore him, hoping he would eventually take the hint and leave her alone. What Miya didn't know was that she wasn't Caballero's first target. Another woman who lived at a different complex where he'd previously worked, the Sabal Club Apartments, later told investigators about her own disturbing experience with him. Back in March of 2021, he'd left a handwritten note on her door, asking her on a date. She'd been uncertain, but agreed. When he later tried to move the date up, and she said she wasn't available, his mood shifted dramatically. That same night, someone threw a heavy object at her window in the darkness. She felt certain it was him and called the police. Officers documented the incident and investigated, but ultimately the case went nowhere. No charges were filed. Just a few months later, Armando Caballero was working at Arden Villas with full access to master keys that opened every apartment in the complex. September 24th, 2021 started as an ordinary Friday for Miya. She planned a quick weekend trip home to Fort Lauderdale, the kind of visit she made regularly. She worked her shift at the leasing office that afternoon, finishing up around 5 o'clock. Surveillance cameras captured her leaving the front office just after 5 that evening, walking across the complex grounds. She headed to her apartment to grab her packed luggage and head straight to the airport. Her family expected a text any minute saying she was boarding her flight. That text never came. What authorities would later piece together painted a chilling picture. At 2:14 that afternoon, more than 3 hours before Miya finished work, a master key fob had been used to enter her apartment. This wasn't her key. The electronic access log showed it belonged to Armando Caballero. At 4:34, while Miya was still at the leasing office, that same master key accessed her unit again. 17 minutes later, at 5:09, surveillance footage captured Miya herself entering the apartment complex, visible in her work clothes, walking purposefully toward her home. It was the last time anyone would see her alive. At 5:52 that evening, security cameras recorded Caballero's vehicle leaving the Arden Villas complex. Inside Miya's locked apartment, signs of a violent struggle would soon be discovered. A small bookcase had been pushed against her bedroom door from the inside, as if someone had tried to barricade themselves in. Her bed was unmade, sheets disheveled. A pillow bore a dried patch of what appeared to be blood. Jewelry lay broken and bent on the floor. Her luggage sat ready by her desk, packed and waiting for a trip she would never take. And there, among her belongings, was her childhood teddy bear, the one her family said she never traveled without, no matter how brief the visit. By 9:30 that Friday night, Miya's family could no longer rationalize away her silence. She always communicated. She always checked in.
Orange County Sheriff's Office. This line is being recorded. This is Operator Winstead. How may I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to find out if I can have a wellness check.
They called the Orange County Sheriff's Office and requested an immediate welfare check. Deputy Samir Paulino arrived at the Arden Villas complex at 10:02 that night. He found no one home. The exterior looked normal, nothing obviously wrong. He waited for her roommates to arrive with a key. Once inside, they knocked on Miya's locked bedroom door. No response. They tried to force it open but couldn't. Something was blocking it from inside. Paulino eventually managed to access the room through her window and discovered the bookcase pressed against the door. What he found inside should have immediately triggered a criminal investigation. The disturbed bedding, the blood on the pillow, the broken jewelry scattered about, the luggage packed and ready, all of it pointed to something seriously wrong. Yet Deputy Paulino discussed what he'd seen with his supervisor, Corporal Kenneth Dale, and neither of them notified the Criminal Investigations Division. Paulino classified Miya as a voluntary missing person, not a missing endangered person, then left to respond to other calls. Miya's family arrived from Pembroke Park around 3 in the morning, desperate and terrified. They immediately noticed things Paulino had apparently overlooked or dismissed. Under her bed sat a yellow storage box she'd need for a trip. That teddy bear she treasured sat abandoned. They tried to make the deputy understand the significance of these items, the urgency of the situation. 1 hour later, at 4 in the morning, an unexpected visitor appeared in front of Miya's apartment building.
You keep mentioning Tati and no one knows Tati. The roommates don't even know Tati.
You've been sleeping since 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden you're showing up here at 4 o'clock in the morning looking for me.
Tati were conversating about it, so I finally, it came
Okay,
up.
but
Should I go
Tati
and
is
see
someone...
if I see anything?
No one knows Tati. That's my whole thing. Not
Tati
even the
is
roommate
an
knows
employee
Tati.
here.
She's an employee, but you keep saying Tati is a friend and that you've all hung out together. No one here knows Tati. All her
Well,
other
not
friends
all-
showed up. Her closest friends that live in the complex were all here with us early on. No one knows Tati. Only you. As of right now, you have sent obsessive texts to Miya. We have all seen the text. You talked about giving her your life savings. You cash out her money, and you claim that you weren't in touch.
Who told her gave
it's
her
on
life
text.
savings? I never
As
said
a matter
that.
of fact, we're going to get a police report to pull your phone records if that's the case. There's evidence of obsession. You're fascinated with me.
It's not only from my side, so don't try to make this.
No one's saying that. It takes
She's not here to defend herself right now, so
obviously
we gotta
she's
talk to
missing.
you.
So we're talking to you, who've been going back and forth on text.
That is your family.
Right.
But until we figure out what's going on, just don't beat me up.
Nobody's beating you
If
up.
I'm guilty, why would I
You put yourself in the middle right here. You brought yourself over here.
Because we're concerned.
You're concerned. Why weren't you concerned hours ago?
I just found out. We didn't think it was serious. I don't even know how Tati found out.
Somebody's missing and you don't think it's serious.
Maybe they hanging out. They got this place right here. They go downtown. I don't know. Maybe her phone's off. I don't know what
she was supposed to show up for a flight and didn't show up.
It was Armando Caballero, accompanied by his roommate. He was off duty. He had no reason to be there at that hour. Mia's family, who'd heard enough about his harassment to recognize him immediately, found his presence deeply unsettling. The guard working at the complex noticed something alarming in the back seat of Caballero's car. He spotted what appeared to be Mia's pink blanket, along with a screwdriver and a cell phone case. Without a warrant, police couldn't search the vehicle. The guard even lifted fingerprints from Mia's window using tape and tried to give them to Deputy Paulino, but Paulino told him to keep the tape in case it was needed later, reportedly with a smirk on his face. He told the guard the case wasn't a priority. Despite all the red flags, detectives felt they lacked sufficient evidence to arrest Caballero, and he left the complex. A background check revealed troubling history. In 2017, he'd been convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Back in 2013, he'd been arrested for using an improvised explosive device in a college dormitory at Warner University, which he claimed was a prank, and for discharging a weapon on school property. Fortunately, no one had been injured in that incident, but it painted a picture of someone with a pattern of dangerous, impulsive behavior. By later that morning, a different deputy was notified about the case and immediately recognized how badly it had been mishandled. He contacted missing persons detectives right away, and a proper investigation finally began.
It's been 3 long days since anyone has heard from Miya Marcano.
Miya, baby girl, if you can hear me, if you're seeing me, we're here.
A desperate plea to bring 19-year-old Miya Marcano home, her family hopeful that she's alive and okay.
I believe Armando may have given us a sign that Mia's in the area. It's just what I feel personally in my heart.
Her family, some even coming in town from South Florida, joining volunteers Tuesday in the search for Miya.
And her father, speaking with Local 10 today, says he's beyond worried.
The relationship that we have is, it's like we communicate hundreds of times in one day, and to not be able to hear from her or know where she is, it's like really breaking my heart right now.
It was now September 25th, and crucial hours had been lost. That same day, Mia's family, convinced Caballero knew far more than he was saying, began their own surveillance. They watched his apartment from their car, waiting. That afternoon, they saw him emerge carrying a backpack, wearing a glove, and holding a pink blanket. The family recognized it instantly as Mia's. They called the police immediately. Officers arrived and Caballero gave permission for Mia's family to walk through his apartment with police present, though they couldn't touch or move anything without a proper search warrant. Hours crawled by as authorities worked to obtain that warrant. It was finally approved just after 9:30 that night, more than 24 hours after Miya had first been reported missing. Shortly after the warrant was secured, Caballero sent a single text message. Then he vanished. 3 agonizing days passed, with no word from either Miya or Caballero. Authorities analyzed Caballero's phone data, searching for any clue about where he might have taken Miya. They discovered he'd created a fake maintenance request for Miya's apartment at 7:01 on the evening she disappeared, a call that was never made by Miya or her roommates, clearly manufactured to create an alibi. 10 minutes later, he contacted the apartment office staff, asking to be let in through the complex gates. Miya's own key fob was swiped at her unit, but no one entered. The phone data revealed something else. That evening, Caballero had driven to an area called Time-Buscan, a location where he'd previously lived. He stayed there for approximately 20 minutes. The area included abandoned buildings, boarded-up apartments, and dense wooded sections, exactly the kind of place someone might go if they needed to hide something. Searchers redirected their efforts there, with FBI resources now supporting the investigation. Then, on September 27th, the call came in.
911, do you need police, fire, or medical?
We found a suicide on property.
Okay, and is there a unit, or is that the unit number 525 where you found him?
No, they're in the garage. It's one of our garages, but we just store paint in there. So, yeah, sorry.
All right, he's beyond, he's deceased, beyond any help?
I believe so.
Okay, all right.
Dead, right?
Okay, we'll have an officer over there in a few minutes. You said it was a male?
Yes.
Okay, see you shortly. Thank you.
Armando Caballero had taken his own life. With him went any chance of getting answers, any hope of understanding exactly what happened in Miya's apartment that day, any possibility of justice through prosecution. The family's nightmare had just gotten exponentially worse. Not only was their daughter missing, but the only person who knew what happened to her was dead. The search intensified at Time-Buscan. On October 2nd, 8 days after Miya disappeared, searchers made the devastating discovery the entire community had feared. Approximately 18 miles from Arden Villas, in an overgrown, trash-strewn wooded area near the abandoned portion of the Time-Buscan Apartments, they found human remains. The body was identified as Miya Marcano. She'd been bound with black duct tape around her wrists and ankles. More tape covered her mouth. She was wearing the jeans she'd had on the day she vanished, along with her bra and a robe. Her red purse lay nearby, containing the shirt she'd been wearing in the surveillance footage and her identification. She was still wearing a necklace with a charm bearing her name. The autopsy would later determine she died by homicide, though due to significant decomposition, the medical examiner could not determine the specific cause of death. There was no identifiable evidence of major trauma and no evidence of sexual assault. Analysis of Caballero's vehicle and the location where his body was found revealed Miya's blood and hair. The same black duct tape used to bind her was discovered in his car. His body showed what appeared to be bite marks on 2 of his fingers and other injuries consistent with a recent physical struggle. Every piece of evidence pointed to one inescapable conclusion. Armando Caballero had murdered Miya Marcano, likely in her own apartment, then transported her body to dispose of it in a location he knew from having lived there previously. The revelation that Miya's case had been so badly mishandled from the very beginning sparked outrage throughout the community and beyond. An internal investigation determined that Deputy Paulino had violated department policies by failing to follow proper procedure, failing to recognize the severity of the situation, and failing to report critical evidence like the blood on the pillow and the broken jewelry. In March of 2022, the Sheriff's Office released their final report, a 135-page document detailing everything they knew about Miya's disappearance and death. It confirmed that authorities believed Caballero acted alone and that he was definitively responsible for her kidnapping and murder. Because he died by suicide, the case was officially closed, with no possibility of prosecution. Miya's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Arden Villas and its management company, the Price Company, arguing that they'd failed to properly vet Caballero despite his criminal history, failed to adequately supervise their employees, and allowed someone with a documented pattern of harassing women to have unsupervised access to residents' apartments. In August of 2023, that lawsuit was settled confidentially. The apartment complex released a statement saying they were taking proactive steps to enhance security protocols, though residents and Miya's family felt these measures should have been in place all along. In September of 2023, the family filed another lawsuit, this time against the Orange County Sheriff's Office itself, as well as Deputy Paulino and Corporal Dale individually. The lawsuit alleged negligence, civil rights violations, and discrimination, arguing that missing women receive less protection and slower response times than other victims. It claimed that had the case been handled properly from the start, Miya might have been found sooner, possibly even alive. The lawsuit pointed out that Paulino had told the security guard the case wasn't a priority unless the missing person was elderly or disabled, a statement that revealed troubling biases about whose disappearances matter. The legal battle highlighted a broader pattern of how missing persons cases, particularly those involving young women, are sometimes not treated with the urgency they deserve. But perhaps the most powerful legacy of Miya's death came through legislative change. Her family channeled their grief into action, working tirelessly with Florida lawmakers to pass what became known as Miya's Law. Senate Bill 898 was introduced by Senator Linda Stewart and Representative Robin Bartleman, driven by the determination that no other family should endure what the Marcanos had suffered. The bill passed the Florida Senate unanimously. On June 27, 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis signed Miya's Law during a private ceremony attended by Miya's parents and brother. The legislation, which took effect on July 1st of that year, fundamentally changed safety requirements for residential rental properties throughout Florida. Under the new law, landlords and property managers must conduct comprehensive background screenings on all employees who have regular access to residential units. These screenings must review criminal history records and sexual offender registries across all 50 states, not just Florida. Individuals with certain violent criminal offenses or those listed as sexual offenders or predators are disqualified from employment. The law also increased the required notice period for maintenance staff, accessing a unit from 12 hours to 24 hours, giving residents more warning and control over who enters their homes and when. Additionally, it mandated that apartment complexes maintain detailed logs tracking every set of keys issued, documenting who has access to which units and when. The goal was simple, particularly young people living alone, would have stronger protections against those entrusted with access to their most private spaces. Miya's family didn't stop there. They established the Miya Marcano Foundation, dedicated to supporting, educating, and providing resources to families of missing persons, while advocating for the protection of students and other vulnerable individuals. The foundation actively assists in searches for other missing people and offers support to families navigating the nightmare they once faced. There are still so many unanswered questions. What exactly happened in those moments inside her apartment? Did she have time to realize what was happening? Did she try to use that bookcase to barricade herself in her room? How long did she suffer? These questions haunt her family every single day, and they will never have answers. Armando Caballero took those answers with him. What we do know is this: Miya Marcano was 19 years old, full of dreams and plans and love for her family. She deserved to feel safe in her own home. She deserved to have her concerns about harassment taken seriously. She deserved a justice system that treated her disappearance with immediate urgency. And she deserved to live. The changes that came after her death, the law that bears her name, the foundation working in her memory, the heightened awareness about apartment safety, these are cold comfort to a family that would give anything to have her back. But they represent a commitment that Miya's life and her death will mean something. That other families might be spared this grief. That other young people might be safer because of lessons learned too late for Miya herself. Her pictures may fade with time, as her mother said, but the impact of her story will not.
I won't ever let you go. You're my everything and more.
Man, I miss my grandma, man.
I could never let you
smoke it out.
This means everything to me.
Big mama.
Baby, I'm a fight for it. Baby, I'm a fight for it. Fight for it.
But you can't never get another big mama.